Welcome to the second webinar for putting social studies in its place using GIS to enhance the classroom. This evening our goals are to quickly review where we've been with the course and then to set up your final project. For those who've been, I know all of you have been following along, we've walked you through a number of modules the last few weeks. We started out with a little pre-gaming where we gave you an opportunity to interact with the crowdsourcing of data by putting yourself on the map and just asked you to give us a little bit of information about yourself. Then Module 1, we set you up with a little bit of how to use the GIS tools without needing much experience. We walked you through geo-inquiries and using ready-made story maps. And then Module 2, we shifted over to show you how to use more involved creative GIS, full-blown GIS lessons, and how to create your own autobiographical map by adding map notes, and how to save your map. And this past week, we put you on a bit of a more challenging task. We had you create your own customized map with layers that have been placed online by your iSTEM or putting social studies in its place instructors. And then we also asked you to test drive the power of geo-analytics using the perform analysis tools. Just as a clarification, in order to have access to those tools, you must log in through an organizational account. If you use a public account, you will not get the option for those tools. So that's a reason for your school to take advantage of the free ArcGIS Online organizational account for your schools. And if you ran into some technical difficulties, that happens. The best advice I've ever received with using GIS in the classroom is to keep your knees bent, because you never know when they're going to change the software, and you also never know when things are just not going to work, and you've got to figure it out. Maybe you've uploaded something that doesn't work properly. So great job for sticking with it, and we're going to move on now, because if you can use the tools you've used in your first 3 modules, the tools we've shared with you, you can use those to create your own story map. And so our next stop is story maps, and Julie's going to share with you your last assignment, give you an overview of it, and then Andy's going to walk you through a lot of the tips and tricks to getting a story map working. So let me go ahead and go back to our classroom here, and I'm going to switch it over to Julie. Julie, I'm about to give you moderator privileges, and I am going to stop sharing my screen if it will let me. Let's see. Okay, Julie, the screen is yours, I guess, is the proper way to say it.
Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share the story map requirements. And is that showing up for you guys? The Make a Map Journal story map that I've got up on my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure before I started. Okay, so for your final project, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be creating a story map using the Map Journal template. There are tons of templates that you can play around with in ArcGIS Online once you've kind of gotten your feet wet with this first one. But the Map Journal is so great. Right now I have 6th graders doing Revolutionary War story maps as an extension activity, and they're absolutely loving the Map Journal. So what you guys are going to do is you're going to take what you've learned over the last 3 weeks to create a customized story map, and hopefully something that you will be able to use within your own classroom. So the story map can be something that's traditional in terms of telling a historical story or telling a geographic story, or you can choose to use it as more of a web quest where the side panel is where you kind of guide your students through what you want them to gain from the material in the main stage content of your map. So in terms of the requirements, we're asking that you put together 7 slides on your map. The first one is going to be your home section or your title page, kind of your landing overview, at least 5 content sections, and then 1 section with citations, so where you've gotten your information, where you've gotten your images, your videos, etc. And then we want to make sure that all of the images and media are appropriately cited either in your section, in the section where it appears, or within the citations and bibliography section as well. And this is just kind of, going through the doing good history skills with your students, where you ask them to cite their material. You want to make sure that they're getting items out of the public domain. So this is really just kind of continuing those good research skills that we try to impart in our students. In terms of GIS content, we ask that you do at least 3 different elements from the choices that are shown. You can do as many as you want, and it doesn't necessarily have to be advanced analysis skills. It can be that you've chosen a base map that's appropriate to the subject of your story map, that you have different map extents in each slide's content. So it might be that on your first, you may be using the same layer for each one of your slides, but it may be that on the first page you have it zoomed out to show the entire country, for example, and then on your next section, if you're talking about, say, a specific battle, you're zoomed into the area of that battle. So, the map extents really do a lot in terms of helping to tell the story. A variety of layers that are appropriate to the story map subject. These can be layers that you've created, or these can be layers that you found in ArcGIS Online that are available to you. Appropriately symbolized layers, so using those map notes or using some of the tips that we showed you guys with the Excel sheets to create points with cities, battles, or locations, lines, and polygons. You can choose to use some of the spatial analysis tools that you had the opportunity to play with in this past module, and then using map notes as annotations to the map with appropriate pictures or links as needed within those annotations. In the multimedia section, we'd like at least 1 appropriate piece of multimedia per section. You decide what's most appropriate. Is it that there's a primary source photo or drawing or document that you want your students to reference? Is it that there's a really great YouTube clip that summarizes an event? Or is there an external link that's going to take them to a site that's going to be really helpful to them in their research or in terms of understanding the content of the map? These links can be either part of the map notes, they can be part of the main stage, which would be where your map extent is, or it can be on the side in the side panel. And then again, we want to just make sure that the multimedia meets copyright laws, really looking at items that are within the public domain or things that you own, just again, kind of reinforcing those good history skills for students. And then finally, we are requiring some type of narrative text within the story map to help move the story along, or to, if you're doing a web quest type assignment, to help guide the students to the understandings that you want them to have by the time they've finished the story map as a web quest. And so that's kind of the overview for the activity. We hope that it's something that you're going to have a lot of fun with, and it's going to be something that you're going to be able to utilize in your classroom once it's finished. And again, as you're working through it, please feel free to contact your advisor for your pod to ask any questions that you have as you're moving through the story map journey. So I guess the next step is going to be Andy. Is that correct, or are we going back to Chris?
You're coming to me. Actually, I'm